Hello, everyone. I've got a guest here with me tonight that has I would say, an unusual home that has a lot of unwanted guests. And I don't know, it's like kind of like she's living in a hot spot, kind of like where I lived at my granny's, except for I think hers has probably a lot more different kinds of, we'll just say, beings there right now. But our guest asked to remain anonymous for safety reasons, and I don't blame her in today's world. uh, so you moved into your house around 2016,
It was right around the middle of August 2016.
and it seemed pretty peaceful when you first moved in there.
No.
Nope.
When we looked at it, it looked peaceful, like it hadn't been, visited by people or anything. Um, it was quiet. I didn't have any bad feelings about it at all. It felt peaceful when we looked at it. But I started having trouble the first night that we stayed here.
So what happened the first night?
Well, I was moving in and I brought my dad with me to see the cabin. So it was me, my dad, and my son. Um, my dad, he stayed downstairs. Me and my son, we were upstairs on a queen size air mattress, which he was about 8 years old at the time. We didn't have any furniture moved in or anything. Uh, it was about 11:30, and we were trying to get to sleep. And I remember what I thought about is how bright my phone screen was because I used to live in town and you didn't want people looking in your windows and the windows weren't covered in there.
Right.
So I just wanted to get my phone screen off and then I was like, well, I don't really need to worry about that. And then um, I heard some noises, which I thought, well, it's probably just normal out here to have bears or whatever come through, but it sounded like elephants. No, I'm going to back up. The first thing that I heard, it sounded like some kind of birds. Three different voices. One was very masculine, and two were kind of feminine. And it wasn't like a hoot, like an owl, but it was kind of it sounded like a bird, but kind of a holler. And I just sat there thinking, what kind of bird is that? And why is it out so late? So I'm just listening to all the new sounds. It sounded like a herd of elephants coming crashing through the trees. I thought, well, maybe that's a bear. I didn't have bears over in southwest Oklahoma. Um, but I heard the trees cracking. I heard the leaves rustling. It sounded big. It sounded like a lot of very large things coming through the trees right up to the back corner of our cabin. And we had, um, it was a 1.5 story cabin, and there was a carport below the second floor, if that makes sense. And in the back of that, there's stairs that go up to a deck. So we had a deck right outside the back door of that upstairs room where we were, and the sliding glass doors were uncovered, and the big window right in the middle of the room was completely uncovered. So I heard these weird bird sounds, really just thought they were birds. Heard the big elephants crashing through the trees, telling myself it's bears or something. I don't know.
Right.
um, so I hear all these sounds like rocks thudding, hitting the ground, some branches snapping, uh, laying there a while. And I remember things were hitting the glass on the windows, and I thought it was just bugs. I really was telling myself it's just the bugs. They're attracted to the moon's reflection.
Right.
But when I noticed what was landing on the deck, it was like somebody just scooped up a handful of dirt under the cedar tree and started throwing it. So it wasn't bugs at all. And that seemed a little strange.
Oh, yeah.
So I was getting a little freaked out at that point. I hear these things out there, they're making a whole lot of noise. Just, you can hear rocks hitting the ground like they're being thrown. You hear the trees snapping. You can hear, it sounds like something is slapping the ground like a gorilla does.
Uh-huh.
And I really thought it was just a bear turning over rocks for a while, but it was all around the back of the cabin. And then I started hearing tree knocks. That's when I started thinking Bigfoot. Before that, I didn't have that thought.
Right.
And I never thought that was a real thing. I had seen it on TV, but I thought that was just kind of hokey. I didn't think that's really how they were, but they do. They knock on the trees, and it was in threes. So I'm kind of freaked out. Not sure if I should be really worried because I'm inside, upstairs. But it goes on for a while. My son is scared, and I'm trying to hear what's going on, trying to be quiet and just listen, because I'm not even sure how many things are out there. It definitely was more than one. I heard 3 different calls, and it fortunately started raining. We had a storm that came in that night. It was a heavy downpour, thunder, lightning, wind, and I stayed awake listening to this. My son falls asleep, and I'm listening, and it stops, the rain and everything, and I think, well, it's okay, it's past, it's over with now. And I'm trying to close my eyes and go to sleep, and it starts up again. And it seems more intense. So the point where I actually got up and was scared, really scared, was one of them was right out front. We have a wraparound porch, and right in front of the porch we have some trees. It's landscaped, professionally landscaped with little trees and shrubs. So right off the porch I hear a knock, 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 really hard, and then it slams into the corner of the cabin, and the cabin shakes. And that scared me because it seemed very aggressive.
Right.
And, that's not a peaceful thing. If you're doing that, you're trying to start something. So I got up, I got my son up. He's angry because it's 4 a.m. Why did I wake him up? But I have a sliding glass door between me and whatever that was. So I got him up and moved him to a room with a door. I turn on the lights to my deck and to my front and back porch. I open the window and I yell out, "Leave us alone, we're trying to sleep."
Right.
And I know that sounds kind of lame, but that's what I did. And we didn't have any more trouble that night, probably because of the lights. I went downstairs and I opened the kitchen window just a little bit to listen and look. I couldn't see or hear anything. But I woke my dad up, and he was really upset that all this was going on and I didn't get him up. So it was his idea to go looking outside in the morning to see if we could find any signs of what happened. I guess to, show me if I was crazy or not.
Right.
So I didn't see the disaster that I thought I would see, because it sounded like they were really tearing up the trees and throwing rocks everywhere. I didn't see big rocks. I didn't see tree branches laying all over the yard. In fact, we walked around the yard and didn't find anything. We were on our way back up the walkway, and my dad stopped us and he says, "Look, he found footprints." Now, we had a heavy, heavy, heavy rain, right? If there were footprints, they would have washed away. They came back after the rain and walked right up the walkway around the porch, which is crazy. They walked right up to the front door.
Right.
3 different size footprints. They were bare feet, like not bears. They looked very human. The toes were pressed down. You couldn't even see toenails on these things. And there was the one handprint. And I remember looking at the handprint thinking, that must be a juvenile, you know, because it reminded me of how kids have those chubby little fingers. It just was very small compared to the feet. And I've not been able to find a hand shaped like that. I've looked at gorillas and all kinds of things. The thumb was really large, it came out the side, and the fingers, they were all about the same size. You know how we have the graduated lengths?
Right.
It had a flat hand, and the fingers were straight across. Very, very fat. The palm was wide, like extremely wide, but the fingers seemed short compared to how wide the palm was, and it just looked really strange. My dad, at this point, still telling me, yeah, it's a bear.
Right.
And I'm just trying to point out, hey, there's no claws here. And what about this handprint? So, and we had leaves all over, so there's no way I would have noticed that. If he hadn't been there, I wouldn't have even found any prints at all. So after that, we did have little things happening, but that was my first night here. And it wasn't the friendliest welcome, you know?
Right.
If anything, I took it that I was very unwelcome and that I was supposed to leave. And I didn't leave.
And I'm guessing the previous owner didn't say nothing either.
Well, you know, I had asked them about things, and they said they never had any problems here, you know. Being a cabin in the middle of the woods, I wanted to know, is it spooky? Do you have any weird stuff? And I said, well, what about Bigfoot? You know, because this is an area known to have things like that. And I said, oh, no, we never have that here.
Right.
Well, recently, I say recently, it's been probably, it was last fall or last winter. I had contacted them and spoke with her over the phone about some things. And she talked to me and said that she had seen them on the property and described seeing different ones. But she said they never come up by the house. And I had forgot the story her husband told me. One time in an email, he had emailed me, and he used to go running on the trails out here. And he had a boulder thrown right over his head. And he assumed that must have been Bigfoot. He didn't see anything. But, you know, rocks don't just fly over your head like that. So there was that. I don't know if something followed him home.
I think they do follow you. I'm sure they do that.
Yeah. Well, you know, my neighbors have also seen them, and they've lived around here forever. They have family property here. They've seen them. But she described something that most people talk about the whole Sasquatch appearance as being long hair, it's black, or it's a red, brown color. Well, she described something that I don't think I've ever heard anybody describe. She had seen 2, and I think she said they were female. She said they had white or blonde hair and it was very shiny. And she had seen another one, she said, that had like curly red hair. It was a reddish brown and it had more of a curly texture, which I think I've seen that. And sometimes it looks like a dead cedar. And I'll walk by and think, there's no cedar there, you know, and you go back and you check and there's no tree. That kind of
Right.
it's a little bit stressful. Like, where did it go?
And
But
you've heard the whistles and stuff, haven't you? The low mumbling.
oh yes, we've had all kinds of sounds out here, and sometimes we have a hard time telling if it's people or if it's, you know, creatures.
Right.
I have had a lot of different sounds, and I've tried to record sounds with my phone and it doesn't work. I'm hoping later this summer, which is when things get really loud, I will hopefully get a recording, some audio, and I will try to send that to you because I want people to hear how crazy this stuff sounds.
Right.
And there's a lot of different vocalizations. I really feel like it can't come from the same thing, and now I've seen different things, so I'm not sure of what their social, you know, setup is. As far as it seems like they have a community, and I'll try and explain why I think that. So we moved in August. I had that happen. Later on, around September, we're all moved in. I have my room upstairs. I sleep with my window open a little bit so I can listen to everything outside. I don't know why I've always been that kind of person. And I heard, it was early in the morning, I guess probably around 6:30, I could hear wolves howling across the highway, which is around the wildlife management area. Holson Valley Road is out in that direction. I don't know if that should be shared or not, but there's a lot of sightings over there. So I hear this howling, but there's another sound, and I don't even know how to describe it. I think I saw, there was a recording somebody shared that was very similar in a series that I was watching with my nephew. It's called These Woods Are Haunted, and there's an episode where they have recorded audio in the first season. It sounds just like this, only this is more of a, I'm going to say sing-songy kind of, it was a melody. Right. And they harmonized the wolves howling in this thing, which it sounded really pretty. It's crazy. Like, it almost put me to sleep. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like a bugle and a whistle, which an elk can do this, but I've never heard an elk sound like this. The wolves were all around this. They took off running down towards the Talamina Drive, and you could hear them going off in the distance that whole time. They did not stop. I don't know how they have lungs with that kind of capacity, but you could hear this that whole time. And a little while after that, so this was around 6:30, right? Later that morning, it's around 8 or so, the sun is up. I hear a Bigfoot call, but it's the siren kind of a call. I don't know if we've probably heard that. It's almost like an alarm. You know, it reminds you of an old siren from, I want to say around the World War II era. It's just very alarming when you hear it. So I heard that, and it came from around Whistler Lake direction. I don't know if I should be saying all this, but I heard it over there call off, and then I heard them call off from everywhere, back and forth to each other. And I don't know if it was different family groups communicating, if it was like a roll call, or if it was an alarm or a call to action, but they were all going off and they seemed very serious. Well, after this whole thing happened, we didn't have wolves howling out here anymore. And over time, all the coyotes disappeared. And after that, things kind of calmed down for me. For a while, I had things that would go around and they would mess with the windows, jiggle the doorknobs. You'd have the growling outside of the kitchen window. Things still sometimes run on the roof, but I'm not sure why they do that. It doesn't feel threatening. Sometimes they still throw rocks on the roof or at the walls.
Wow. And one of them you said sounded like a turkey hen call.
Yes, that's a newer thing. I don't think that one is Sasquatch. So,
you have a new visitor.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just said you have a new visitor now.
Right, I do. Well, so all this stuff had happened and gone on. Somewhere in between there, I skipped the point where I saw Sasquatch. It was a really close up sighting. So we had all that stuff go on. We had the things happening out here. And I was still in the process of moving. It's really scary out here. We don't have security lights. It's just dark. It's in the woods. And I was moving. It's over an 8-hour drive, 2 ways. So I would come in sometimes at 3 or 4 in the morning, have to unlock the gate and come in. It always scared me. It felt terrifying out here. And I always felt like there was something there waiting on me, and it wasn't a very nice feeling. We had mountain lions and, all of that. So this one morning, it's around 3 a.m., get out of my car and I'm unlocking the gate. I feel perfectly fine. And it is one of the only times I've ever felt safe when I got out. I unlocked my car. I unlocked my gate. And I was looking up at this thing. He just walked down from where my fruit trees are. So I have a driveway that comes down the hill. It crosses this little creek. And it's between all these trees, of course, with the creek there. And then to the left up the hill is where the fruit trees are. So he came down from the fruit trees and crossed right in front of me. And, I had my bright lights on. I got a pretty good look at him, but I didn't get to see his face. He was black, solid black. But his hair was really shiny. And I know a lot of people describe him as being kind of, gross and having nasty hair. He was not like that. He was very well kept. He was very shiny, very clean appearance. When he walked down, it's like he kind of glanced out the corner of his eye, Side-eyed me. I don't know any other way to describe it. He didn't look directly at me. It was just kind of like, I see you there. And he walked on. So I thought it was really interesting that I didn't feel afraid that morning coming in and unlocking the gate when he was there. And I almost felt like he kind of gave me permission to pass or be there, which, I didn't have any real trouble from them after that. But I do think they were the ones that were putting on that display that first night and were were really curious about us, but I don't think they saw me as a threat. They didn't go out and shoot at them. I'm a single mom. I just don't feel like they were threatened by me. But you're right, we do have something else out here. And I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't know if they even travel together. I don't know if I have the Sasquatch family here still, because it sounds like they don't come here. It sounds like they completely pass us by and go off towards the mountains. And that's kind of concerning. So I don't know if there's been kind of a territorial dispute going on, but there's something out here that is really hostile later in the summer. And yes, there are whistles. It mimics other animals, like cougars. And like you said, the turkey hen. Sometimes it laughs or cries. A lot of times it screams. It is a terrifying scream. It sounds like a big dinosaur.
Right.
There's no other comparison I can make. Other people have described it like a pig squeal, only, bigger and louder and more terrifying, which I guess it is pretty accurate to that. It's scary.
And you've heard like your name called, your dogs, like the lion roar and like a static laugh.
Yeah. There's been a lot of traffic here, and like I said, sometimes you can't tell if you're dealing with people or creatures. I put up these LED Christmas lights that are in a lot, kind of like a chain link fences, and I just put them up under my deck and on one end of my porch, and they got ripped down. So I went and I was taking them down after I had put up the ones on my deck again, even though they didn't work. The wires were torn. I put them back up there because I'm determined to catch who's doing this, but I never did hear it. So I'm picking it up to throw it in the trash, and I hear this sound. It is the weirdest laugh. It's like a recorded laugh. And it sounded just so bizarre. But I felt like he was letting me know that was funny,
Right.
But they're probably not laughing right now because we've taken out a lot of those trees.
And they done some tree shaking too, didn't they?
Yeah, I've got some trees that are being, I have some uprooted trees, and I'm not sure how they got uprooted. They're way back behind the pond where I don't go. There's a lot of briars and stuff over there. But I've had a lot of tree breaks. I've had trees stomped on, They're laying down. How do you do that?
Right.
In the middle of the woods. Can't get any heavy machinery in there. I can't even pull them up. I've tried to lift them. They're stomped down pretty good. So I don't know.
Your son drew a picture of one.
Well, my nephew did.
Oh, it was your nephew?
Yeah. He, there's been some things happening. I'm trying to think. They were here over the break for like 2 weeks. And I had my 2 nephews and my son. And me and my older nephew, we sit out on the porch a lot and we talk. And, I'm the one that goes hiking with him. I take him fishing. He likes to be outdoors.
Right.
So we would sit out on the porch and talk. And we had some things happen. We heard a lot of noises, like, the turkey hen. at night. We could hear something out here. My brother was out here trying to find what it was, trying to get a look at it, and it was stalking him. It was pretty big. You could hear it move, and every now and then it would stumble on a rock. They did meet up the hill. These things, it sounded like coyotes, but then when they got up the hill, they were doing something totally different, and it was like they got together and they were laughing. Well, then they kind of divided, they split up, and there was different sounds. And the turkey hen call is one of those sounds. So they do make a lot of different sounds, but while this was going on, we were sitting on the porch listening. My dog, she was walking with my brother. She got scared. He was talking about he heard something and heard it roll a rock, like it had stumbled or it stepped down. He heard a footfall too. But the dog got scared and came running to the door. Her tail was between her legs. She tried to get in the house. Then she came and crawled under my legs, towering. I have a big dog. She's an Anatolian Shepherd Great Pyrenees mix.
Right.
And she's terrified. Whatever this is, it scares her. While we were out there, this thing started making noises, and I heard this weird, more guttural kind of it wasn't a growl. It was almost a grunt.
Yeah.
And it was way too close to the porch. And I thought I saw something move, so I got scared. I got the kids inside the house. I was like, we're done. We're not going to stay out here anymore.
Right.
I don't know what that is, but I don't like it.
But you have a reason. You have a reason to be scared, though, because you said that you had like claw marks by your window.
Oh, yeah. That was shortly after we moved in. So remember, I opened the window upstairs and I yelled out at them. So the screen on that window disappeared and I never found it.
Wow.
But it looked like something tried to pry the window off, like claws. All the black seal around the glass had that, like it was clawed at.
Wow.
And the downstairs window had 3 scratches, and it cut the screen. So there were 3 cuts through the screen, and the glass was scratched, which I was trying to tell myself was a bear. I don't know, it wasn't a bear.
Right.
But, whatever was out here that made that awful sound, it sounded like a lion roar, kind of a weird growl. And it was it was at ear level, at least. And that was what was terrifying. I don't know.
And didn't you see something that looked like kind of like a bobcat that was bipedal?
I've seen so many weird things, and I've got a lot of weird pictures.
And then you had the woodpile incident.
Yes. So while my nephews were here, I got a really, really awful headache. Like, ended up down for days over it. But they were outside, and we had, and this is what is hard for people to wrap their mind around. There were people out here. You could hear people talking, and, we shouted at them to go away or whatever, and it would get quiet. So on this particular night, they were out on the back porch. It's a fenced-in yard in the back, and my brother was out there, but people got quiet, and then there was this awful smell, And that's something that happened over and over again, this awful smell. It smells like rancid poo and also like a mangy dog or coyote smell. Not blended together. It's like you smell that rancid poo smell, but you will also smell that mangy dog smell. And I think that it's separate things, whatever these smells are, because it travels, it doesn't really blend together. Right. I don't know how to make that make sense. I don't think it's the same thing. Right. But that is something that was going on here. And the kids were kind of freaked out and they heard weird noises. They said they heard moaning, and I said, "What do you mean you heard moaning?" They described it as being an animal sound, and then they described what they saw. Now, my son is 15. He tells me he thought he saw, something that was more like a cat, and he saw it in my pictures, which, lots of people can't see what's in the pictures, but when you see it, it's easier to find it in the pictures, right? Right. And my nephew, he said, "Yeah, it's Bigfoot with elf ears." So my youngest nephew sees Bigfoot with elf ears. My son sees something like a big cat, like it's upright, walking cat face. And my other nephew, he says, "I don't know what it was. It was just like a big dark figure." So I've got these boys describing this to me, and I know what I've seen. So on the porch with my nephew, one night we were talking and we heard some noise. So I shoot my flashlight down towards where we hear the noise, towards the end of the driveway, and I catch some eye shine. And I say, "Hey, do you see that?" Not really trusting my eyes. And he says, "Yeah." So I'm really looking at this. I'm moving my light around. I'm trying to focus and make sure I'm seeing what I think I see. These are green eyes, pretty far apart. This thing is big. And this is different from anything that I've ever seen. Ears were very pointy and they were forward facing at the top of the head. This thing is a tan color. You can see the elbows are bent. It's standing up, but it has bent elbows, like its arms are in front of it or something. I noticed the elbows are bent. I'm not sure what else to say about it. Cats have green eyes, right?
Right.
So I've got different colors of eye shine out here. But this thing, it has the green eye shine. It's taller than me. So I go out there to take pictures of this to send to Red Dirt Cryptids, because they were helping me with, the woodpile incident.
Right.
And in my pictures, I think I see what looks like, very similar to what I saw that morning by the woodpile. Like a red wolf thing.
Right.
Nobody else sees it though. So I'm not going to say I'm not seeing things that aren't there in my pictures. But when you see it in real life and it's coming towards you and it stinks and it makes awful noises, you can't mistake that.
Right.
But,
exactly.
In pictures, it is hard to tell a lot of times. So,
And I spoke to Red Dirt, and we talked a little bit about your case, and he said not only did he think you had dogmen out there, he said he was pretty sure that you had a lot of other different things going on and different cryptids. And
I definitely do have a lot of things.
And your location also, he said you're like in the middle of nowhere, and you're a prime area for something to be. You have ponds and just a lot of things that could support it.
it's almost like it would be a funnel for them to come from the forest and the lake and cross through here to go out elsewhere, you know?
Right. Have you heard any like talking you could understand, like saying your name or?
Well, there have been times, especially my son, he will hear the dog's name called. He's heard his name. He's heard when I go walking on the property, he has told me, Mom, it sounds like somebody's out here talking on a walkie-talkie. So there's that. But out here in this back corner, there always has been something around there.
Right.
So I had people come cut down these trees because after everything that happened with my nephews here, I mean, it got crazy. There was noise. It didn't feel safe. I wasn't comfortable with that. So we cut the trees down around the creek here. Something was throwing rocks at the guys that were cutting these trees. And I was out there with them.
Right.
We went out, we couldn't find the people doing it. Maybe it wasn't people.
Probably not. Wow.
But they don't believe in cryptids. And they had guns. I said, you're welcome to use those if you need to.
Right.
You have my permission.
Yeah, Brian said there was a really eerie feeling even to him in the daylight being there.
You know, sometimes it's fine. And I guess that's what I go by when I'm outside doing yard work or whatever. If it doesn't feel right, I come inside. So things had calmed down and I felt pretty good. And for the first summer and forever, we had mushrooms. I like to forage. I like to go and, you know, gather mushrooms and things like that. And me and the kids, we identify different things that we find and what kind of uses they have.
Right.
It's just a weird hobby I have. So I'm out and I'm walking up the hill. And it doesn't feel right. Even when I wasn't hearing something, and you know, when you hear it, it's just a little bit, you try and wait and see, okay, is there something over there? You'll be quiet and wait. It just felt really, really, really bad. So 3 times in a row of me trying to go up in that area, I couldn't do it. There was something there. I didn't see something. I felt it. And I didn't like it.
Right.
So it hasn't been as vocal this summer, but I have averaged losing a cat every couple days. I am the crazy cat lady. I have a lot of cats.
Has it came in your house before?
I don't know, and I don't know. I know that sounds strange. I have got to where I have to lock my doors when I work in the yard because somebody or something was coming in.
Right.
I have been in bed and somebody has slammed my back door and it didn't latch, but it was locked. So they had to be inside to unlock it, run out, and slam the door.
Right.
So I don't know what that was. I have seen things, and that gets into, I think, a little bit more of a paranormal thing,
Right.
which I don't know. There's a lot out here, but we do have different kinds of creatures. And what bothers me the most is it seems like there's been people. Now, I know some stories about the area, and I've heard them many, many times, and from at least one source that I respect and that I trust and consider reliable. And that is a story about something very close to home. And I've seen some things, evidence of witchcraft out here. And I hate to be vague. I know there's a lot of different things that people do.
Right.
But I had chanting in my add-on downstairs. We enclosed that carport, and there wasn't a door on it yet. There was a guy down there reading verses, but I know my Bible, and that's not what he was reading.
Right.
So he ran off. I found some chicken legs tied together in a cross out here. And they were pretty new.
You for sure need
I
to
just,
keep your doors locked and be careful of who's coming
yeah,
around. Also, not just for the cryptids, but for people.
yeah, definitely. And I know the Jameson disappearance has been a big thing. That's something that has scared my family. It's concerning because of some of the things that happen out here. My mom was very, very worried. So she's actually moved back to Oklahoma to here to make sure, we're okay. She wants to be closer, keep an eye on us, see what's going on, see if we can, take care of this.
Without going real deep into the Jamesons right now, is there like similarities happening at your house that happened? I'm vaguely familiar with the Jamesons.
Yeah, I think so. I know a lot of people want to say, "Oh, they were high, they were crazy." No, there are things out here. There are people who play with things they shouldn't, and there are creatures out here, and they do get on your roof, and they do terrorize you.
And I'm glad you said that because I was reading the report before the Jamesons. I think the dad's name was maybe Bobby.
I don't remember.
Before he went missing, they interviewed his pastor, and he had went to him, and the pastor told the police that he had come to the church very upset and was very stressed, and he was asking the preacher if he could bless his bullets for his gun, and the preacher had asked him, why do you want your bullets blessed? And he said, because there is creatures in my attic or on my roof. And his wife, they had found out, had bought the Satanic Bible, and she was using it to try to get rid of what was at the house. And then, of course, it goes into the big, investigation, and they finally found them. I guess like 4 years later.
Yeah, it's very upsetting, and it bothers me that people are so quick to jump to conclusions and believe the worst about somebody.
Right.
I don't know all the details, all the ins and outs, but I know from the things they were going through and the things that are happening on my property that have been happening since I got here.
Well, you can tell the police were trying to in my opinion, cover it up because they were like, well, how did they have this much money, and how did they do this, and
I'm not even sure that was the case. And that money that they found went missing too.
Right, and
there's
people can save money just because you're having
right,
a hard time.
But was that even their money?
Right.
That they could plant whatever they want to and say they found this or that.
Right.
I'm gonna try not to get into that stuff, but yeah, we have things going on out here, and there are creatures.
Right.
And the people and the creatures kind of seem to go hand in hand. I have seen unmarked government vehicles out here with blacked out windows. Right. I didn't know what they were doing. I still don't know. It's just the middle of nowhere,
Well, I may have to have you on because I'm working on the Jameson family, so maybe later on you can share some of your ideas whenever I get closer to publishing that video.
Well, I want people to know not to discount those things because, you can beat yourself up and think you're going crazy and, you go through that enough on your own. But when you're desperate for answers, if you're not strong in your faith, you're going to look everywhere that you can. You're going to try and find a way to deal with it because the church dismisses these things. They pretend it's not real. It doesn't exist. You must be possessed. You must be crazy.
When they don't realize there's actual physical things out there that they don't understand.
Yes. And there's a lot. that goes on out here. Um,
And
so
you're probably not real safe anymore camping in the woods in certain places.
no, I won't even camp out here. Like, I love to camp. I've always loved the outdoors. There's times I won't do my yard work.
Right.
And that may sound crazy to people. And I love the trees. I don't want to cut down all the trees, but there's been times I thought maybe I should just burn it all down, you know?
Right.
Get rid of these things, take away the hiding spots. It's hard to keep up with, especially when we have a rainy season. It just gets out of hand really fast.
Is there a certain time of the year it's worse?
I think late summer, all through fall, and last year it was all through winter.
Wow.
And my mom was here a lot, and she got to experience some of that.
Wow.
So I'm not alone with these experiences, things that I'm seeing and hearing.
Right.
They don't seem to like it when I go and mess around with what I guess is their area.
Right.
But like I said, I feel like the Sasquatch family has moved on. They're not over here. When I heard them, they were off in the distance calling out. And then when I heard them again, they were elsewhere. They didn't come here. I don't know. It sounded like they were moving.
Something else took its place, maybe.
Yeah, they were moving west. So I think they've moved west and they're staying out of this area because something else is established here. And that's why we've had the decrease in all of our game animals, the wolves and the coyotes.
It's almost like
we don't have coyotes out here anymore.
It's almost like a werewolf moved in.
Something. And here's something that I'm going to share. So like I said, we don't have coyotes anymore.
Right.
I guess we had lived here 2 or 3 years. My brother would come and he'd walk the property, check things out. Out behind our spring-fed pond, he found a coyote, a big, healthy-looking coyote. And he said, "Sis, something happened here. Like, all of its guts were hanging out its back end." So I had heard another account where somebody had stopped gifting, I think it was, and the Sasquatch actually did that to their horse, reached in and pulled everything out the anus.
Yes.
So that is what I have to relate that to, and that's been a while back.
Right.
But it was a big, healthy-looking coyote. Didn't have disease, no mange, nothing like that. And all its insides were just out the back end. Right. I don't know what would cause that. It's strange. So I have seen different kinds of creatures, but here's what I want to emphasize. People sometimes go out and they think that they're in a safe place because it's, open to the public, or you have people who are professionals who are looking out for you, and you always can call the authorities for help. I really want people to be cautious when they do go somewhere, and not take for granted that they're just going to be safe.
Right, yeah.
When I moved in here, I was sharing my story with everybody I knew. I used to have social media. I don't anymore. I've had my Google account locked many times. I am locked out of so many phones, lost all my pictures and videos. And I have had people out here, out here, you have the cartel running drugs and all kinds of things. You have your meth businesses, all that. These guys, whoever they were, there's usually 2 of them. First time I saw 2 together, they were in solid brown. like camouflage, just solid brown, blending in. And I thought, that is so weird. I've never seen anything like that before.
Right.
And they walked evenly spaced. So I just thought that was really weird. I didn't know what to make of it. Maybe they were hunters, but it's my property, it's private property. I later saw two guys in full black tactical gear, and it's the heat of summer, like it's mid-July, around 4 p.m. These guys walk right behind my back fence, and I holler at them. I say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they ignore me. They just keep on walking. So they're going east. I don't know what that was about. Now here's something else that has happened since I've been here. Some of my trees have white paint on them. It's like they marked the trail. My mom is the one that figured out they used Morse code for directions.
Oh, wow.
There are sections of fence that are cut out. And if you follow the sections of fence, they go down to the highway. It's cleared out. The trees over there, cleared out. So they can go right down to the highway. I don't know what happened here. I have seen strange things. I have heard strange things. I have a good mix of weird creatures that I have seen, that I have heard, that I've had in pictures. I've got my nephews and my son telling me things, so I don't feel like I've completely lost my mind yet. We've got handprints that we've seen, footprints. My mom actually, when I saw that thing come behind the woodpile, I had her come out and shoot. Well, I then went on to take my son to school. Later, she got in her car and she left and was driving home. And as she was driving home, she saw a handprint on her windshield. And it was a weird handprint. And, we have raised raccoons. We've always been around wildlife. We don't know what this hand was.
Right.
And it had me thinking, when I first had what I thought was a mountain lion problem, I was out in the back doing something, and I would hear the chirping and the whistling back and forth, and I would leave because, I can't exactly stand up against a mountain lion.
Right.
So one day I was down there and I saw on the ground, it was like a little handprint, and I saw a child. And I was really angry, like, is somebody bringing kids out here at night?
Right.
It was right under a cedar tree, right where the fence was, a barbed wire fence. But then when I looked at it, the fingers were extremely long. This was a skinny hand, and it looked like it had claws. And
wow.
I couldn't make sense of that. I didn't know what to think of it until my mom told me about the weird handprint on her car. So whatever it is that mimics the mountain lions and came around the wood pile, I think, unless it's, one of the others. And here's another thing, which I had talked to Brian about later because I didn't realize this. So when me and my son were going out to my car, it was parked a little further away. I was in a hurry because I didn't want to miss the bus. Anyway, I didn't grab the flashlight. I didn't grab the gun. I was using my phone, and I have a bright screen because I'm almost blind and I can't see. So I was in a hurry, turned on my flashlight, holding my flashlight on my phone up. My son is in a hurry, starts going off towards the car. And about that time, I'm like, hey, slow down, I can't see. This thing comes from behind the wood pile. I reached out, I grabbed him, I pulled him back. He looks and he sees what I thought I saw. But
Right.
apparently, after we talked, when I did that, all he saw was a thing standing up by the tree. And he thought it was a bear. He said, Mom, it was really tall and hairy. And he never saw the thing that I was watching that I was backing up from. He was looking at the thing standing by the tree, and I was looking at the thing that was walking toward me. So I had him behind me, and I was holding my phone up, and I don't know if I was blinding him from seeing that, but he had no idea. He was making fun of me
Right.
about my mountain lion because he did not see that thing.
Sounds like there
And
was
it just,
two of them probably.
yeah, at least. I don't think it was just the two because of where my mom's car was parked and where
Right.
that handprint was.
That's got to
I
be
think there was
scary to
more.
you out there by yourself and being a single mom. And that would.
Yeah, some people think that that's my imagination getting a little bit wild.
Yeah, but when other people are seeing what you're saying, and then you have
Yeah,
other investigators, that concur what you're saying.
yeah,
But I don't want people to
it's
think that you're, you know, not protected. That you are very well protected where you're at, and you have a person there that makes sure that you're safe. So I don't want people to think that you're just not protected out there, and you're a single mom. Uh,
well, yeah.
that
We make sure that. And here is something else. Oh my gosh, all this stuff had me so stressed out and worried. It was just me and my son. I was on my couch in a position where I could see everything, every opening. So I was watching all the doors, basically, all the entrances, wherever the traffic would be. So if I heard something, I could get up and be ready because many, many times my front door would just burst open and there was never anybody there.
wow.
These things are fast. They can jump up on the roof and run and just be gone. They can jump down off the roof and be gone.
Yep,
You can
Brian
hear
told
them
me.
running on this ground. It sounds like they're very heavy, like they're wearing big, heavy boots, too.
Yeah, Brian said there was a place off your roof where he had seen where one had jumped off and left some big prints.
Well, we have a spot at the corner in the front, and it slopes down there. That is a very trafficked area, but they jump down off the roof so much that sometimes it's bare dirt
Wow.
most of the time.
Wow.
They had been getting up here and just messing with the wall. I can't tell what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but it stinks. Whatever this is, it stinks. You can smell it really bad down the hill around the bamboo when it comes through. And it just kind of walks around the outside of the shop, peeks in the windows. It hasn't done anything. It just,
Exploring.
oh, this freaked me out.
Yeah.
We had a house full of people, and it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. I don't remember, but I think it was Thanksgiving. And because the house was full and all the beds were full, and nobody wanted to stay down in the shop, which is fixed with beds and furniture and everything, I went and I stayed on the bunk bed all by myself. So the smell is there, there's lights, there's something, you can hear it scrape against the outside of the wall, and I see this orange eye looking at me. So I had my brother come out there with me, and I showed him, I said, this is where it was. He said, that is over 7 feet tall.
Right.
It peeked around the window unit, which is not really, it's mounted in the wall, and it's a heat and air unit. So it was peeking around that. And now we have curtains that are about halfway up the window. So, they have to be pretty tall to look in there.
Right.
And they do. But it smells awful. This thing is the one that smells like rancid food. It does not smell like eggs. It's not the one that smells like the dog, unless that comes and goes. I can't figure out that. It just seems like there's two separate things here, and sometimes they're together. But the sulfur smell is here by itself when it's here, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Sometimes the sulfur smell is so bad. I thought we had like gas venting going on. There's been things. I have contacted BLM to see if there was drilling going on because of things that have happened out here. With movement under the ground, shaking the house. It messed up my water. And then we had the gas venting situation. So I contacted we have USGS has a researcher looking at this area because it's kind of anomalous the way all these different geologic points meet.
Right.
So I contacted them and they just blew me off.
Oh yeah, of course.
I wanted to know, is there gas venting? Something is going on out here.
Definitely something going on for sure.
And that smell is strong sulfur odor. So I don't know. Maybe it's creature related, but when I saw Sasquatch, there was no bad smell.
Huh.
Yeah, I know people talk. And there's something that Bluff charges me off the front porch. It doesn't smell. Whatever it is, it has no smell. And there's a lot of traffic that goes by there. My brother has had experiences over there. He's got some crazy stories. My mom, she's heard these crazy screams and the things on the roof, had the handprint on her car, the growling. The morning that I saw that thing was right after I had done some stuff over in the back and had what I thought was mountain lions. And then when I got up to the trail, there was a big cedar tree, and it was a very gruff, response to the mountain lion. Like it was mimicking the chirp. It was gruff, and it was very close to me. Freaked me out. I walked backwards from that point all the way down the trail to the house. And that night, my mom came in from Tennessee. She went out to her car to get her charger or something. Anyway, she didn't make it all the way out there. She came back in because something growled at her. And she didn't know what it was. She didn't recognize it. And I got on to her because you don't go out by yourself here,
Right.
especially at night.
Yeah,
I was really upset.
Yes.
And she had gone through knee surgery.
Ooh.
So especially her.
Yeah, you don't want to be outside in the dark or by yourself out on those trails either.
So this thing was there that night, and that morning when we left, it's like it was waiting. And they spend more time out front now when they're here. Used to, it was mostly out here and back, but it's like they're pushing in on us. So I don't know if this year is going to be completely quiet and uneventful, or if it's going to ramp up.
I hope it gets uneventful for you.
Well, we've had a lot of trees taken out. The neighbors took out all their trees. They've been bulldozing everything.
Right.
I took out the trees that were in some of our trouble spots. There's a tree out here that used to be shaken, and I didn't know what they were doing that for. But it seemed kind of threatening, like, hey, you need to leave.
Right.
So every time I would see that tree shake, there's no wind, there's no other tree shaking, it's just the top of that tree.
Right.
I would always come home.
Yes.
We have a lot of things out here. The weird lights, the orbs that we think are flashlights. My brother has chased them. That is a whole crazy story.
Yeah, we might have to do that one.
Yes, I would love for him to talk to you and tell you his stories. He's way more animated. And the UFO type things, there's been a lot of that. And the lights that shine in the windows. My mom and I both had this problem just the other night. she was looking for who was shining flashlights, and so was I. But it was the rainbow colored flashes in the distance, but it came in horizontal through the windows. And it's really bright.
It's so weird.
It's very weird. And there was this one time, the only time that I saw this up close was when I had taken my dog out for a walk. She was in heat, so I kept her basically locked up inside and was walking her in the morning before I would go to work. So it's like 4:30 in the morning. I got her on a leash, we're walking around, and there's this thing that comes just kind of floating from that back hill. And over there, this is a weird connection that I don't know. It might be reaching a little too far here. So there's a ritual site over that hill. There's always been those rainbow flashing lights that I thought was just a weird mountain phenomenon, like weird lightning.
Right.
But there wasn't thunder, there wasn't rain. It always has just been weird rainbow flashes. So this morning when I'm walking my dog, this thing comes floating down over the cabin, real slow, really low. It is like a white glowing egg shape, and this light that shoots out around it, like an arc, is rainbow colored, and that is what is making this rainbow colored flash.
It is really weird.
Whenever I see it, sometimes it looks like a star. It's not a star. It is this thing that comes over. Sometimes it sits there and it just hovers. But there will be a bright light that will come in through the window, and usually that thing is somewhere. And I have noticed this many times. And it's so bright, like you'll be in bed almost asleep, your eyes are closed, and it's a bright light that gets you up. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't go to the window every time that happens.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially after that one thing.
Yes. Well, I don't
know if I should tell that one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Brian from right there thinks I'm crazy because I told him that one.
He don't think so.
Probably every other story I told him. But I sent him a lot of pictures.
Right. Yeah, I've been putting your pictures on my Patreon for people to look at if they wanted to look at them.
Yeah. Well, I feel bad because I know it's so hard to see. The quality of the pictures is not good.
Right.
And it is weird how much worse the quality gets when I look at them or I try to enlarge them, or when I send them. It's like they get blurred. I have actually seen my pictures get completely distorted and it looks like there's a swirl pattern over them. It's not pixelated, it's like it's photoshopped. I don't know how to describe that. But it wasn't like that originally, and then all of a sudden it's got these weird swirly, blurred out lines.
Right.
And that irritates me because there's things that I want to show people, like my brother.
Right.
And I send it and they can't see. But my pictures that are taken at night, you really have to be in a dark room and you have to do some work on your phone to be able to see them.
Yes.
But the best way to get these is with your flash. And I'm not sure if, I know some people don't believe in cloaking, but they do.
Right.
They really do that. And what's crazy is sometimes it's like they're partially cloaked, and I'm not sure how they're doing that. I don't know how that happens, but in the pictures, you see a lot more.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you on the cryptids. We might have to do another show on the other things going on, though. And I've kept you over an hour, so it's warning me now, telling me I'm passing my minutes.
Yeah, and it's probably not very useful.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
Yeah. I think people are going to find this very interesting. You have a lot of interesting things going on, and it's got to be scary for sure.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's another day. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of the way it was at Granny's. Sometimes it was scarier than others, and sometimes you just kind of expected it. But I want to thank
Yeah.
you for sharing your story with us.
Well, I wish it was more organized. I'm so sorry. My brain is just
No,
sleep deprived.
I thought it was very well done. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.
Okay.